Here we are with Dustin Pickering, editor-in-chief of Transcendent Zero Press, and also the quarterly journal known as Harbinger Asylum. He is holding right now in his hand his latest release called Salt and Sorrow, released by Sengupta. Now, Dustin, my first question to you is, what was the writing process like for this book?
It was instantaneous. It took less than 2 hours to write the entire collection, and it was literally poem after poem shot out of me. And as I have said on the back of the book, I said the muse had kind of kept me on guard for a long time, and this book was my experiment with her letting me go. So I tried it on my own. I took matters into my own hands and moved forward with the poetry. And I generally stuck with a lot of themes, biblical themes I'm very familiar with, including Ecclesiastes and Garden of Eden, things of that nature. I even spoke about Joseph from out of Genesis. Abraham himself plays a part in the book. So it was really just about taking biblical themes and evolving them and tying them together into a collection, a chapbook collection.
Understandable. Yeah, I actually have moments like that myself where poem is just shot out. You can't even feel the hand moving the pen. It's all. It's not exactly clockwork, but your mind is sort of moving the arm itself, which is moving the hand. We're just the creator. We're just the people who hold the pens. Now, we actually got to experience a service in action at an old ecclesiastic church. I'm not sure if you remember this. It was before a Taft Street Coffee reading. There was an actual service going on. But I wanted to expand on that. Tell me why you chose a lot of biblical themes.
I actually, in spite of being an agnostic and a serious doubter of the idea of God as being a objective or absolute reality, I do ponder the Bible quite a bit. I've read a lot of it several times. I've really reflected on what is the true meaning of Christianity. It's been an obsession for me for a long time, and so I'm pretty familiar with certain parts of the Bible, enough that I feel like I was confident to actually write poetry about what these truths are how they're being expressed, what they're saying to the individual, and digging really deeply enough into, which I don't think enough people really do. They're biblical. They read the Bible in a Bible study class, and maybe they nominally feel like they're Christians. And a lot of people that do that haven't really gone into the depths like a poet. They're students of the Bible, but they're not poets, so they don't see the subtleties and stuff of the language. And I felt like I could possibly bring out certain aspects of the truths written in the Bible and put them in the front where you could look at them directly and see what I've comprehended from Scripture.
I see. Well said, well said. Where did you come up with the title?
It's a long story short. There is a quote that comes out of the Sermon on the Mount from Matthew 5 through 7, where he says, if salt has lost its bitterness, then what is it? Basically, there's something to that effect when he's discussing, you are the salt of the earth. And I've thought about the words of the Sermon on the Mount. It's one of my favorite pieces of literature, actually, because there's so much into it that is profound. But I was taking salt because he says, if it doesn't have its bitterness, then what is it? Is a reflection of the nature of life, because it's the same thing with life. It has bitterness, and he's kind of saying, in my opinion, if life didn't have its tough moments, its strong moments where you're wrestling with the truth, or you're in sorrow, if it doesn't have those moments, it's really just kind of dry, and so it's lost its flavor. In the words of the sermon, so I called it Salt and Sorrow, because I felt that salt was a metaphor for the kind of bitter aspects of life that we try to hide or avoid, and basically, the two, I thought, since the words really kind of coalesce together, it sounded nice. And at first it was going to be called If Beauty Knew with an ellipsis, and it was going to be reflections on beauty through the biblical themes, because that's what Kirti told me to take on. But he said he thought that title was too vague, and so I thought it over and I said Salt and Sorrow. That sounds a lot better anyway. I'm glad he made that suggestion. So that's pretty much where the story comes from.
I think it turned out well. Well, if you'd like to indulge us, read us your 2 favorite poems before we conclude.
Okay, I'm going to read my personal favorite of this collection is called Adam's Lament, and it's Adam reflecting on. It's really strange because he's questioning what it actually says in the Bible about him and Eve, because it kind of says basically that Adam is a piece of God's glory and then Eve is a piece of Adam's glory. Well, he's saying, if I'm only a piece of God's glory and she's only a piece of me, then she's diminished, in God's glory compared to me. But he's actually goes back and says that he is. He says she is kind of, in a sense, she is equal to me. She is just as beautiful, and he says she also is a reflection of God's glory as much as me, and it shows in her radiance. So here's the poem. It's called Adam's Lament. I know I am a part of you, and she is a part of me. Glory is for us together. Yet how does she express glory, who has come from my rib? After all, I am complete. She too must be your light. Her beauty is a testament to it. And let's see. Now I'm going to read the poem Thought.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Although I am in a lustrous land of open curtains where all can see through the wind, still I hunger for the emptiness or the fullness, the satisfaction of continual surges of emotion. Know that my heart is a beacon, a tornado, a pyre. I guide the light through my amber ways, where my inner child kills her eyes. I am fire, gasping for breath, seeing the intensity of my drums like a hoodlum in the streets of earth. And that poem is about passion and how devouring and at the same time satisfying and beautiful passion can be, and what it actually is in terms of its quality of being a very powerful and pungent expression from the human psyche and human emotions.
Dustin Pickering, ladies and gentlemen, buy your copy of Salt and Sorrow on
$7.
Amazon. On Amazon today. Poetry lives. Peace out.